the labor of cleaning the stables of Augeas. Eurystheus was growing uneasy with the fame and admiration that Hercules was receiving by completing the tasks. He thought to himself about this.
These successes are making him famous and proud, but that cannot stand. No, he is not successful if he is covered in feces and smells bad.
Then he spoke to Hercules.
You must clean the stables of Augeas. You must clean those stables in a single day.
Augeas was a king of Elis, who was supposedly a non-direct descendant of Poseidon. He was given a herd of farm animals by Poseidon, which were immortal. This allowed him to obtain great wealth, as they never suffered any illness. As his wealth grew, so did his greed, pushing him to decide that upkeep costs could be subtracted. This did not prevent the animals from excreting, though. The excrement and filth continued piling up over the years till the animals could no longer move around, and no human could approach the farm without becoming ill. It remained isolated for years as a result, producing nothing good. The stench was strong from far away. When Hercules arrived, he thought and thought some more, since cleaning these stables in a single day, which had been accumulating filth for so many years, can appear impossible. He peered at the stables from the top of a nearby hill to see the full situation and realized that through manual labor, it would not be possible to clear that mess even with the best physical effort imaginable. After removing those ideas of physical labor, a new idea came to his mind which brought another idea. Before beginning the plan, he decided that he should share from the profits of the success, and approached Augeas.
Augeas, if I clean your stables in one day, will you pay me with a portion of the herd in exchange? As they stand, they are of no use anyways.
Augeas considered the offer, since none of his assistants were able to correct the wrong decisions he made in the past for short-term profits.
Seeking a reward is a common request. I see that as a worthwhile proposal and accept.
Hercules began working on irrigating the nearby rivers named Alpheus, meaning returns from offerings, tributes, sacrifice, worship, and generally good results from transactions, and the river Peneus, meaning thick and fertile. He irrigated them along a path that would join and merge them. Separately, they were flowing in opposite directions. Merging these rivers, which independently had different directions, produced a massive river rapid. The line Hercules dug out for the rivers to follow headed toward the stables. The flow increased as the water continued. By the force and energy of the converging rivers, the stables were destroyed. Walls were broken and the animals swept away. Every bit of filth, along with the farm's construction, washed away. Hercules succeeded. Augeas then learned that Hercules was commanded to do the labor by Eurystheus. This allowed him to deny Hercules the reward and share of the herd. There was a trial where Augeas even denied the initial agreement for payment, and although Augeas lost the trial, he decided to order Hercules out of the kingdom instead. Before Hercules left, he looked Augeas in the face and vowed to exercise vengeance and kill him for betraying his word. Interpretation of the myth with the symbolic elements. The farm represents a city. The city covered in excrement represents a city where injustice persists, and the two rivers are opposing ideologies which, when brought together, create a conflict of destruction, leaving the city clean from the past. In poems by Pindar, a place that lacks justice is described as having a stench which will summon nemesis. The farm is a city as the domestic animals operate within rules similar to those residing in cities, not wild. The farm had a problem of filtering excrement due to the density of the animals. Cities have issues related to the density of people being too high for anyone to keep track of whether someone is a threat or not. In small communities, bad actors obtain a bad reputation that becomes common knowledge, and in a city, bad actors can find people unaware of their past behaviors to repeat their actions more easily. Non-bad actors have to remove the benefit of the doubt when approaching new people as a precaution, even though they would like to apply a default positive outlook on new encounters. Those which would not choose to act badly but were recipients of malicious behaviors will feel like they cannot trust fellow citizens. It can even occur to them that the only way they can right the wrongs received is by acting in a similarly bad way. This will create an air of suspicion and a complex network of directed malicious actions. This network will then tighten over time. People have hard limits on how many people they can remember. This limits the ability for them to track those who have done wrongs in the past in order to avoid new potential conflicts. It helps wrongdoers avoid justice by getting lost in the crowds. It must be understood that there was nothing wrong with the animals, and analogously, most city dwellers do not have natural psychopathy. Even those who have intrinsic malicious desires can play a positive role when the surrounding populace can learn how to identify and contain the potential harm, but not when it can come from anywhere at any time. Each of the two rivers represents living life positively in one or the other direction. They are opposing ideologies. Since both rivers are fruitful in their own right, people that choose one approach will be faithful to it, seeing the other approach as a threat to their stability. In a society lacking trust, people will choose an ideology which will cause the most harm to the largest number of people they see moving in a different direction, different to themselves. With the rivers brought together, the mixing creates rapids of internal war, which will destroy all the societal constructs. This includes the structural aspects, but also the social ones. Once the struggle to survive becomes the prime concern, past problems will be forgotten, washed away. The intense demands of the present struggle to survive pushes out of memory the past lingering memories and new friendships with trust rebuilt from zero. This labor had to be done in a day since, if done gradually and not all at once, some of the animals would be cleaned before others, and this difference in the analogy means that it would expose some people to injustices by making them vulnerable by having an overly optimistic outlook within a still substantially grim society. The complexity of the situation could only be understood from standing upon the hill so that the big picture could be seen. Trying to understand the situation from within would cause excrement to fall on him. Augeas showed that the courts and justice do not apply against those that reside in the upper echelon of society, and that often anger can be directed at those types. It must be understood that Augeas did not create the situation. He catalyzed it. In effect, he brought the time to disaster sooner than later, with all the work from him and his organization. The constructions and developments provided a poorer quality of life, but with less exposure to risk. Ironically, that is an illusion, as the risk is only saved till the time of collapse arrives. This labor did not count for Hercules' atonement, because this problem cannot be conquered, since it will reappear again in the future. It is an intrinsic component of urbanization. Extra quotes. Diodorus Siculus, Library of History. Form 13.3. Upon the performance of this labor, the fifth labor of the Stymphalian birds, Heracles received a command from Eurystheus to cleanse the stables of Augeas, and to do this without the assistance of any other man. These stables contained an enormous mass of dung which had accumulated over a great period. Pseudo Apollodorus, Bibliotheca, 2.7.2-3. Not long after the completion of his 12 labors, Heracles collected an Arcadian army, and being joined by volunteers from the first men in Greece, he marched against Augeas. He also celebrated the Olympian Games. Summary. Urbanization creates various kinds of pollution, including societal pollution, most notably by eroding trust between people. There is a limit on the number of people that can be remembered or socialized with. After a certain density, they will be surrounded by strangers. A society that loses trust will not be an enjoyable place for people to live. It means that most interactions will have an initial hurdle to cross over. Those who have not found justice for wrongdoings against them in the past may seek to counter their loss by acting maliciously to find balance. An incremental approach to fixing this problem is impossible, since if a portion of the citizens are selected to re-establish a system of trust, it may leave them exposed once again. Different ideologies from different directions can be fruitful in their own way, but when brought together they work to create destruction. This is an organic path toward a new beginning. This challenge can never truly be overcome and is destined to reoccur. It is a property of the system and not individuals. Augeas, who made decisions for short-term gain, can be seen as the cause, but that potential gain would have been produced by someone eventually. Therefore, that character is a catalyst.